Welcome back, everyone. It is Friday, January 31st in the NBA, the final day of January. My best bets are on the way. In this video, we have 4 plays, 3 player props, 1 parlay. We'll talk with the ladder challenge. We might also crash out in this video. Could be a really good one. But either way, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. As always, we begin with a recap of yesterday. Let's talk about it. We went 1 and 2. We cashed Trae Young's double-double, which should not have been a sweat. We'll talk about that later. We lost day 1 of the ladder challenge because of Trae Young. We needed 2 more points and assists. We'll talk about that in a second. And then Paolo Banchero, one of our worst beats of the season. We needed his over 22.5 points. He shot 23 times. We'll touch on that in a second. Why am I going to crash out? Well, here's why. Trae Young, let's start with him. Obviously, yesterday we needed his points and assists. The amount of missed layups and shots we saw from his teammates was disgusting. But one of his worst missed shots for himself, I'll just let the video play. Now, I can live with this one because it's like a floater or whatever. We'll go in short. We missed a lot of easy shots. Who I can't live with, Banchero. This happened in the first quarter, 2 minutes into the game. And when it happened, when I was watching, I was like, that's going to come back to bite us. He finishes 2 points short. Enjoy. All right, get it to Goga. Oh, down low. Oh, this is the easy lay-in. What the? How do we miss that? Oh, we got the layup. Surely we don't miss this one. Both of those missed. So again, I can only do so much, guys. I mean, we have had tough beats all of January. I'm glad to be getting out of the month today, and hopefully we can end strong. But man, it has been gut punch after gut punch. I mean, that Banchero one, icing on the cake. We can't be missing those shots. And he missed a lot more shots. Went 10 of 23. He shot 23 times. When he shoots 20 plus times, he averages 30 points per game. Either way, let's move on. No more complaining. No one comes here for excuses. Hopefully, I really showed those clips just so you guys can live with the pain that I've been sleeping last night, having to think about those Banchero missed layups. Trae Young, whatever. I'll live with that. Let's move on. Favorite pick of the day. Jason Tatum, over 24.5 points, minus 120 on Bet365. I would put more units on Tatum, but there is a very good chance he finds his way into today's ladder challenge. So I'd rather not overexpose myself with 2.5, 3 units on a single player. Obviously, one injury, and then your bankroll's cooked. So I'll stick with 1 unit here on his regular over. Don't be surprised if he finds his way into the ladder challenge for 20 plus points. I think this is an elite spot to back JT, who, let's be honest, he's been pretty bad recently, and I'll touch on why I really like this spot for him. Now, today, him and the Celtics are on the road to face the Pelicans. Now, they are 11-point favorites. I don't remember the exact record. If you were to look at the Celtics against the spread, they have been absolutely terrible when you're talking about teams against the spread after a win. Now, they are coming off a win, a pretty decisive one. That was that win against the Bulls by 22 points. I'll bring up these stats after a win. They have been abysmal. Let's talk about it. Obviously, we're on team rankings here, a different site. After a win against the spread, they are terrible. Where are they? 6, 25, and 1. Like they have been the worst covering team after a win. So I'm not saying to bet the Pelicans. I'm just saying the Boston Celtics have really struggled to string together 2 really good outings back to back. And obviously the numbers are inflated for them. But let's get back to Tatum. Well, obviously we need to score some points. Now, Jason Tatum, obviously on the season, we're looking at 24, 25 and a half, not really a big difference. Only over 13 of 30. And that includes 7 straight games going under. Now, I typically like to target Tatum on bad games, and he's had back-to-back bad games. But also, I like to target him on the road. He's been a lot better, over in 15 of 22 on the road. Sure, you can look at 5 straight unders. This one, the Raptors doubled him nonstop. Warriors shoots 9 for 20. They win by 40. Then 2 games where he finishes on the hook. Doesn't really shoot well in either of them. 9 of 22, 8 of 22 here. And then the Lakers game, which was just a disaster class of epic proportions. Another blowout. I look at this as a good spot for Tatum to be aggressive and hopefully show up. And we've seen him talk in the press conferences. He likes to show up on the road because sometimes fans are paying to come see him on the road. They're paying at home too, but they can come and see him a bunch of times at home. On the road, there's a chance he only sees him once per year, and that would be the case here. He only goes to New Orleans once per year. Now, we've seen him face the Pelicans once this year, 38 points. Now, we shot 30 times. Do I think we get 30 shots from him today? Probably not. But again, you look at where he scores his points. 29 or 32% of the restricted area, where we see the Pelicans rank 29th, second to last, and then another 46% on above the break threes, where they rank 20th. We've seen in recent games 2 for 6, 1 for 7, 4 for 12, 2 for 6, 4 for 13, 3 for 10. Even in that game, 38 points, 2 for 10 from 3. So again, the threes weren't falling. I think they fall tonight, and I think this is a great spot for him to get going. I don't see any rim protection in there for the Celtic or for the Pelicans. I think he'll show up tonight. On the road, that's where I normally want to back him. I think he has a good game tonight. So give me his over 24.5 points. Very big buy low spot given how some recent games have gone. I think this game can remain close-ish. And the Pelicans have been playing super fast recently. Also forgot to note, not that we take these numbers 100%, but we've seen his last 10 games against the Pelicans, 31 a game. We look at these numbers, pretty good numbers, only under in 2 of 10. What I really like to see is the field goal attempts, 22 average, 17 plus, nearly 18 plus in every single game. So again, really like Jason Tatum tonight. Give me his over 24.5 points. We move to our second play. Sorry for taking a while to get through that one. Our next one is on a guy that I don't think we've bet on him once this season. That's Chris Middleton. I really like his over 11.5 points, currently minus 115 on FanDuel. I personally think this line should be 13.5, maybe juiced towards the under, maybe minus 130. But 11.5, I'll take a stab at it. I think it's still a tad too low for Chris Middleton as him and the Bucks are on the road taking on the Spurs. Another game that I don't also mind for a ladder opportunity. Now, let's first begin and talk about Chris Middleton and how he's done this season. Obviously, it's been an up and down one, dealing with the ankle injuries and whatnot. Again, I'll have the pick scrolling down below at the bottom of the screen. If you look at Chris Middleton on the season, you'd see he's over in 12 of 21 games, averaging a little over 11 per game. Now, he has had 3 games where he ended with 11 on the dot. 11, 11, and 11. That'd be tough, but hey, whatever. We move on. He's had recent games. A game here against the Clippers, 0 for 4, 19 minutes, 0 points. Bounce back the next game with 22 points. Then the following game, 0 points again. His most recent game, 15 minutes, 0 for 2. Again, he was in a back-to-back here, which I think he's only played in 2 back-to-backs this season. But again, he did not play too well. There was some foul trouble here. You might be like 15 minutes. What the heck happened? Well, he got 3 fouls in the first quarter, so he didn't play any minutes in the second quarter. I love this spot though for Chris Middleton. When we've seen him play, 20 plus minutes, which I'm pretty confident he's locked in for that tonight, over in 11 of 18 games. When he plays 11 or more minutes and shoots above 30% from the field, you're looking at a guy over in 11 of 13. So sure, if he shoots below 30%, tip the cap, we move on. But again, Chris Middleton, typically a more efficient scorer. And we look at his matchup here. We got a good matchup against the Spurs. Now, we did face them earlier this season. 8 points here, played 21 minutes, shot 2 for 7. So again, below 30%. I'll touch on that matchup in a little bit. But again, look at how he scores his points. Where does he score them? 34% on above the break threes, 28% in the mid-range, or 22% kind of closer mid-range in that paint. But you look at this Spurs team, 28th on above the break threes, dead last in mid ranges, and then they're 9th right here. I really think this is a spot where Chris Middleton can get to his spots. You see how he scores, pick and roll ball handler, 25th. They really struggle there. Now, what happened in the most recent matchup, though? Why did he only score 8 points against them? Well, obviously, Giannis got his thing. He had 25. Dame at 22-6. Brook Lopez even had 22 points. But again, I really want to look and focus more so on the bench because that's where Chris comes from. 21 minutes, I guess, at 8 points here. But look, we had Bobby Portis in the lineup, 2 for 12. We had AJ Green, 5 of 9. He scored 14. And Gary Trent Jr. scored 14 as well. When we look at this, Bobby Portis is out due to personal reasons. Hopefully everything's all good. I didn't really look into it. AJ Green, he hasn't played in a few days. We'll see if he plays. And I honestly am not too high on Gary Trent Jr. He went 4-4. Good. Tip your cap to him. Again, I think this is a good spot where we can see Chris Middleton get some good usage in that second unit. I don't love the matchup for Dame. Giannis, it's a tough one given Wemby's playing drop coverage in the paint. And that's kind of what led to Brook Lopez having a pretty good game. So maybe Brook Lopez makes some threes and not a bad bet. I would have taken it, but it's a little too juiced for me. I like Chris Middleton. So I'll take his over. Third play is an under. Daniel Gafford under 16.5 points, minus 118 on FanDuel. One unit play as him and the Mavericks are on the road taking on the Pistons. Now, if you recall, what was that, Wednesday? We took Daniel Gafford's over in points plus rebounds. Now, I don't honestly hate the under today, but I'd rather just the under in points. I think that's a better spot than taking the under in points plus rebounds. I don't mind him. If the points and rebounds line was at like 27.5, I probably would have gone to points and rebounds, but I'll go with just points here. Now, let's talk about Daniel Gafford, who obviously we have talked about him. We just talked about him on Wednesday. The Mavericks are banged up. They're down Lively. They're down Powell. They're down Kleber. They're down a lot of guys, and I get it. Gafford will see more minutes. but I don't like this matchup. I think it's one of the harder matchups in the NBA. Now, let's first touch on Gafford, and you can look at him on the season. I'm not really going to say, oh, he's under in 17 to 26 games. We're not really more concerned about that. But these are all games with him playing 20 or more minutes, which is probably a guarantee tonight. Now, I really want to just look at, since here. Last 8 games. Now, sure, he's averaging 19 points per game, but he's faced some elite matchups. Pelicans, we just talked about them when we talked about Chris Middleton. They are, not Chris Middleton. We talked about Jason Tatum, 29th in restricted area. Again, that's not a surprise that we saw Daniel Gafford destroy them. Hornets, a similar team. Celtics, I'll tip my cap. Celtics are not a great matchup for him. He played well. Wizards, another terrific matchup. And again, the Pelicans again. When I look at this matchup against the Pistons, they rank 4th in the restricted area, which is where Daniel Gafford scores 84% of his points. So again, not a good matchup for Daniel Gafford to get a lot of opportunities. Putbacks to 17%. Second, pick and roll, man, sure, maybe 24th. And I don't really buy that a ton. We've seen over this is going to be the last 10 games in the restricted area, the Pistons, the 5th fewest field goal attempts allowed, just 19 shots in the restricted area, which is where Daniel Gafford does all of his damage. So again, I think this is a really tough spot for him. I just don't see him getting a lot of opportunities. They don't have Luka in there. Kyrie really doesn't get a ton of assists. He's kind of looking for that pull-up. And with Jalen Duren in there, he's a pretty good rim protector. Isaiah Stewart, a very good rim protector, one of the best statistically this season. Hopefully Beef Stew is out there. We know he got ejected in the most recent game. Hopefully they don't randomly suspend him midday today. It's the NBA. Again, I really think this is a tough spot for Daniel Gafford. Now, I don't know if we have any head-to-head numbers from like last year. Technically, he played them a good amount last year if you were to look at these games. 10, 8, 15, 17, 6 points. I'm not really reading into those a ton because Luka was active in a lot of those games. He also was on the Wizards in some of those games. And also, this was a much different Pistons roster. That Pistons roster last year did not give a lick on defense. With JB Bickerstaff, this is a pretty good paint-oriented defense. They want to limit your shots in the paint. That's where Daniel Gafford does all his damage. So again, I really think it's a good bet. You look at the Pistons; they're 7th in points in the paint allowed. Big game at home. You'll want them to show up. I like Daniel Gafford's under today. My 4th play is actually going to be a parlay. And it's a 2-leg parlay. One of the legs is a little juiced. Both of them are actually juiced, combining them together, 2 teammates. We are looking at Michael Porter Jr., 10-plus points, and Jamal Murray, under 2.5 threes. I couldn't fit their full name, but I'm sure you know these two fellows. Michael Porter Jr. of the Nuggets to score 10 or more points, and Jamal Murray of the Nuggets as well to go under 2.5 threes. This 2-leg parlay is minus 117 on ESPN Bet. I want to say it was minus 123 on FanDuel, minus 130 on DraftKings, around the same value on every single book. Now, I did almost consider putting Aaron Gordon in here, but I just didn't want to trust him. Him to get 10 points, I like, but I feel like he could end with like 8 points, and that would kind of aggravate me because these are my 2 favorite legs. But I really like this spot here to take this MPJ and Jamal Murray under 2.5 kind of threes kind of thing. First, I'll begin with MPJ, who is coming off a pretty bad game. I'll say it how it is. He's coming off a bad game, very similar to Nikola Jokic. He found himself in a similar scenario as in the most recent game where they faced the Knicks. He got into foul trouble. He only scored 9 points. Now, he's been very consistent, at least getting to 10 points. In fact, if you were to isolate every single game this season, you'd see there's only been 4 games that he didn't get to 10 points. But more realistically, we look at where he scores. 31% in the restricted area, where the Sixers rank 27th. Spot up shooting, we'll touch on that in a little bit more. The Sixers are actually a much better spot for catch-up shooters right now than they were in previous days. I think this is a great spot for him. Head-to-head, we've already seen him score 19 points in a blowout, 35 minutes. I think this is a guy that's going to play, 25 to 30 minutes. The game's a blowout. Someone had to do some scoring, and I think Michael Porter Jr. is that guy. Now, why am I fading Jamal Murray? Now, I won't lie to you. I almost took his regular under in points. It's at 19.5 here. I think 20.5 on a couple different books. I almost took that, but I rather the under in threes. I think that's a little bit easier to get it done. Now, we've seen, come on, work it out. We need to go to threes. Why do I like his under in threes today? Now, as I said, it's a little bit juiced. Like, I'm not going to take this for 1 unit because we're looking at minus 175, minus 160s. But again, we look at him on the season, the last 30 games, under in 21 of 30. He is over in that last game against the Knicks, 3 of 7. Why do I hate this spot? Well, we see earlier this season when they just played a few weeks ago, we saw him go 0 for 3 in that game, 2 for 7. And why? Because over the last 10 games, we're looking at pull-up jump shots, you would see the Sixers have really transitioned and transformed their defense because over the last 10 games, fewest pull-up three-pointers allowed, fewest mid-ranges allowed. Where does Jamal Murray do his damage? It's in the pull-up game. That's all he does. He doesn't really get him out of catch and shoot. In fact, you look at catch and shoot, 6% of his points are in catch and shoot. So again, a lot in the pick and roll where he's getting those pull-up jump shots and things like that. Handoffs, they're really good at too. So again, I think this is a really tough spot for him. And we think about, obviously the Sixers have been playing pretty hard recently. When Jamal Murray doesn't get a ton of field goal attempts from three, I mean, when he gets 7 or fewer, which I don't even think he's getting to 7 today, under in 23 of 30, I just think this is a terrible spot for Jamal Murray. So I love the spot for Michael Porter Jr. That's been a funnel for 3-point shooters. I think I put the stats up on my my list. That right now, last 10 games, Sixers, 7th most 3-pointers allowed, catch and shoot wise, 8th most catch and shoot 3-pointers made. So again, a top 10 spot for catch and shoot guys like Michael Porter Jr., a terrible spot for guys like Jamal Murray. So again, I like this 2-legger. I wish it was plus money. I'm going to play it for 1 unit. I'll take a stab at that. My 5th and final play of the day should be no surprise. The ladder challenge is making its return. Today, we will have an under. I guarantee that. We're putting an under in there. I don't know what it will be, but we'll figure that out. But I will have an under in today's ladder. I know we've suffered some bad breaks. I said I've committed maybe today and tomorrow. We'll do it today and tomorrow. If they both lose, we'll probably take a few days off as I travel to San Francisco, and I don't really want to be forcing a ladder anyways. I'll probably take those days off anyways, unless, we're climbing and we're doing pretty well. Then we'll figure that out. But again, I really think we got a good chance at climbing this ladder. I'll give it a good try in February. I'll also try maybe in March, depending on how February goes. I really think a long climb is coming where we go to at least day 6 or 7. I know it's coming. We haven't stayed true to the process. It's coming. Guarantee you it's going to come soon. Hopefully it starts today. We can hit day 1. We'll figure out what game we go to. There are some games that do entice me today, and I'll talk about those in a second. But again, day 1 of the ladder challenge will be live later on. I didn't even mention at the beginning of the video, we might be in good hands today. I'm getting a fresh cut. And statistically, over the past year, when we get a fresh cut, the picks tend to do well. You might not have ever noticed, but in the MLB, picks did pretty well when I got a fresh cut. When we ever in the NBA, check the footage. When we have a fresh haircut, we have a good day. So hopefully day 1 of the ladder challenge can cash. You see all the picks scrolling down below at the bottom of the screen. If I want to touch on some games that I'm looking at for the ladder, I'll do that right here and get on out of here. This game, yeah, this might be no, absolutely not. A pick I looked at though, Nick Smith Jr., I just not in the market to lose money on him. Nope. Dallas, Detroit, not a terrible game. Honestly, kind of digging a Cade Cunningham under today. He might mess around and find his way into the ladder for an under. Don't quote me on that. We'll figure that out. Denver, Philly, I'm not probably getting there unless it's an under on Tyrese Maxey points. No, just not betting on that game. These are the 2 games I'm looking at the most. Celtics, Pelicans, could be a blowout. I think Zion gets you at least 15. We'll see about that one. I do like DeJounte Murray's matchup today. Statistically hate this guy, but he's been hooping recently. Trey Murphy probably gets you some points too. Pelicans don't really have a lot of guys to score. This is another game that I don't mind at all. So I really don't know where we're going with the ladder. I have a haircut appointment at 1:45. I have another meeting at 2:30. So I'll be working on the ladder throughout the day, but probably will be live later, probably around 4 p.m. So stay tuned for that. Also, I didn't even touch on the Terry Rozier drama kind of thing. My tweet went pretty viral at Terry Rozier. How are we feeling about Mr. Terry? Yeah, how are we feeling about that Terry Rozier? I talked about this in a YouTube short, which you can certainly go check it out. But I had this tweet posted 2 years ago. This is fishy. Rozier had his lines taken down. Something doesn't feel right. Now it comes out that he could be involved in an illegal betting scheme. I don't know. Feels a little bit weird. Let me know how you feel about that. But either way, appreciate you guys for tuning in. We're 19 minutes in. I'm out of here. Enjoy your Friday. Let's have a big day. When the ladder challenge is live, I'll link it here. We won't have any added plays today. The 4 plays in the video, which we're scrolling down below at the bottom of the screen. There they are again. Jason Tatum over, Chris Middleton over, Daniel Gafford under in that parlay with MPJ and Jamal Murray, and then the ladder. Of course, ladder live later on today. Link down below in the pinned comment. Have a wonderful Friday. Let's end January, hopefully with some dignity. And I'll recap how we did in January. It's not going to be a great recap, but we always do it. I'll see you guys back again in the next one. Peace.